Hello, everybody, family and friends and guests. Thank you guys for tuning in. My name is Cynthia. As you guys know, I have a youth organization called Heavenly Sent Youth, where we pretty much try to empower kids and take them out their element and just allow them to just do different things, just to have fun. You guys could look me up at Heavenly Sent Inc. on Facebook, or you can find me at Cynthia Manuel on Facebook, and there you will be linked to my Facebook, and then from there you can access the website. I want to thank Lynn. Over the past week, he gave us some tickets to the WNBA basketball game, Chicago versus Indiana, I believe, and I think Indiana. I'm sorry, I think Chicago won, and so I just want to give a shout out to him for always looking out for us, and also this Saturday, we'll be doing an event with a horse ranch. So we'll be out with horses, allowing the kids to ride for free. You can get all this information on my website. And so without further ado, I have my mother here and my grandmother. So this is 3 generations of manuals. And so our topic today, I want to do something different. I want to talk about the importance of being active in your kid's life and about how growing up affects youth or your kids. So often we see kids and we make mention of how, what word is it that you use, Granny? Mischievous. How mischievous they are. She don't use the word bad, mischievous. And so I always say that everything that you are is a product of where you came from. More so to say that your upbringing has a lot to do with your forthcoming. So I just wanted to have them on and just pretty much share the different experiences growing up. I think my grandmother is how old?
77.
She's 77 years old. My mom is
62.
62. Ain't that a blessing? I thank God that I have both of them in my life. They're a big part of who I am, as well as a great support system. Because of them, I can do majority of things I do because I never have to worry about putting my son in daycare or leaving him with strangers. This right here is my backbone. So, Granny, I'm going to start with you.
Yes.
So, at 76 years old, she the one y'all be telling me look in the camera. Y'all see her, she not even looking in the camera. She looking at me. They go the camera over there, Granny. Every time I come home, she critiquing me. You gotta look into the camera. You gotta look into the camera. No, that's a joke. I love my granny. But can you just tell us how it was growing up? I know we had went on a road trip, and she had made mention that they didn't have any electricity back then.
No, we had lamp lights.
Okay.
What you would call, some of them call them we use big candles and we use lamp lights, which you had to buy fuel to go in, and it had a big top on it, and you had to clean it out. And most time people cleaned out newspaper because newspaper would make them shine. And we didn't know nothing about lights, and to us, it was just like the electric lights that we have today.
Wow.
When you come home at night, you get your homework did by lamplight.
So you grew up in the in like a rural, like the farm, or I think you said plantation, correct? And so can you give us an insight of what growing up on a plantation was like? How does that look?
Oh, it's where you grow stuff, a lot of stuff that people eat today. It was raised on the plantation, like corn, beans, and we would have to chop the cotton.
Wow, she chopped cotton,
to make clothes out of, and we had to go to the rice fields. And back there, when it didn't rain, they had stuff like they would bring the water in big old things, like a big old drain to come through there. And we would have to go out there and chop the cotton and keep the lines open for the water to come through.
Come over just a little bit, Granny, towards my mom. Yeah, there we go, so you can see your whole body. So in other words, so the jobs out there was what? Picking cotton, corn? Oh my God.
Cotton, chopping cotton.
So is it safe to say that you were born around slavery?
Almost 77 years ago.
77 years ago. I can't imagine. Well, you know what? That's funny because so often I tell people I want to move to a farm. I want horses, and that's probably, now that you're talking about it, that's probably where that part of me transpired from your upbringing. So see how I always tell you guys that your upbringing is connected to something in your past? I never even thought about that until now.
And then people are blessed now for what they make. They said now they are not making enough to live off of. But when I was a little girl, we had to chop cotton for 35 cents an hour. You work all day. You go to
35 cents
you go to field at 6 o'clock in the morning. You have your lunch break from 11:30 until 12. You go back to the field and you work till 6 o'clock. And all day you work for $3 a day.
So you said it wasn't no electricity. So when y'all, so at a certain time it's dark in the whole house. Oh, you did mention a little
I had a
lantern.
little lamp.
So houses, so in today in 2019, you know, I'm used to the city. So you know everything is, you know, we got the internet, we got electricity, we got cars, we got everything. So I can't imagine growing up back then. So what you saying is I've heard about in storybooks. I've never seen it. You know, I've seen it in storybooks. So I appreciate you coming on sharing that with us. So what did you guys do for fun?
Get you a lot of rags to make you a rag ball. Get you a stick and you play stick ball like you play baseball.
Y'all hear that?
And that was the way of life.
So what about cars? I mean, did your family have a car?
No. Most of the bosses had cars, but we called the bosses
She
with the
said
white
bosses.
peoples.
Wow, that's deep.
And,
So I mean, if you guys needed something from I guess is it safe to say the store or the hut or
it was a store, a rural store.
so you guys had to walk?
Yeah, walk to school. I walked to school many days, but your shoes had a hole in the bottom. But to learn things, you still had to walk to school. And I had to walk like about 4 or 5 miles going to school, 4 or 5 miles coming back. And you had to go through had a little old thing go through the woods called a path. And what that means, when you don't walk so much, till it was clean there, and you had to walk through there, the woods to get to school.
So it's almost safe that it's a possibility that you could have been in the vicinity of Rosa Park or Harriet Tubman.
Not that far back, but I'm back there.
Wow, that's interesting. So at what age did you come to Chicago?
Oh, when I was about 19,
19.
almost 19.
Wow. So when you came to Chicago, I'm sure it was a culture shock to you, meaning it was different from what you
It
were
was
used
different
to.
because I wanted to know how the houses built on top of one another, and just strange.
So how was you guys disciplined back then? Because I mean, it don't really seem like y'all had much trouble to get in. Of course, nothing like today. So I mean, if you got in trouble, how would your mom discipline you? Would she make you go sit in the corner or pull some hay away?
Look, down there, they didn't believe in no corners. You go out there and your mama, you get the whooping. Your mama tell you go get a switch. And if you go get a switch and it wasn't the right side, she send you back and get nothing. And most time they plat them together.
And you get a whooping with.
Yeah, with a switch. Y'all call them branches on the trees. But during that time, we would plat them together, and you would get your whooping, and you gone just like you. Do
Wow.
what you gotta do.
Interesting. So that's interesting. So mother,
Yes.
for you, I'm sorry, Granny. Another question. So when you came to Chicago, how did you make a living?
I didn't work when I first got here. I was married, and the first job I had was in a nursing home. And that nursing home, it paid like we get paid off the 1st and the 15th of a month. I never forget it. And we got $200 on the 1st and $200 on the 15th. I thought I was rich.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. So it's funny because today we complain about not making enough money. And just, you know, I often say that it could always be worse, and people wonder why I'm as humble as I am. And so, you know, what you guys don't know is that my grandmother, she said she's 74, correct?
No, 77.
77. And so at 77 years old, I remember she had to go to the hospital. What'd you go to the hospital for?
I had cancer.
She had cancer. My grandmother is a cancer survivor. And so I remember her in the hospital. Me and my mom went there faithfully. I mean, we was there every day. How long were you in the hospital?
I was in the hospital 3 months and 9 days.
3 months and 9 days. They pretty much wrote my grandmother off. I remember the doctors telling my mom to sign her in a nursing home. And she was coherent. She had no idea who she was at that time. And so to hear that, and you know, like I said, me and my mom in there faithfully, and I you know what? Now I understand, y'all, why my grandmother hold on to money so tight. She'll say she ain't got money, but I remember my younger days. My grandma would hold on to this little sack bag, and you talking about some money she would have. Now it makes sense. Go from making 50 cents an hour to
35 cents.
35 cents to what we got today. Now I see why she's so tight with money. And with that being said, I remember when we were in the hospital and they were saying what they were saying, and the hospital people was telling us that we have to transition her, to a nursing home. So I remember getting in her ear, y'all. This honest to God truth. My mother could be a witness. I said, Granny, if you go to the nursing home, they gonna take your check and they gonna give you like $35 an hour. I'm sorry. Listen to me. I'm all discombobulated. I'm just tripping on what she said. They gonna give you. They gonna take your check and they gonna give you. They're gonna take your check. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm all discombobulated. Just hearing her story and just going from her having cancer to her being a a survivor today, and just the stress it was for us to to see my grandmother laying in that bed and then for her to not even know who she was. Oh, but back to what I was saying. So they told her. I told her. I said, Grandma, they're gonna take your check and they ain't gonna give you no money. Honest to God, y'all. When I said that, my grandmother rose like she rose like never before. And so then she started getting better. And so I'm just grateful that that she's still in the land of living, despite the unforeseen circumstances that the devil tried to impose on her. Now I'm gonna introduce you guys to my mom. My mother is humble. My mother is humble. She's laid back. She's laid back like us. She's laid back like me. And so she non-confrontational. She laid back. She's different. She's a different type of individual. And I thank God for her. Like I said, both of them. Anytime my son was sick in the hospital, whether he was there for 2 days or 10 days, they were there for me, from night up to, it was like a job. I would go there in the daytime and stay all day, and I go pick her up at night or pick her up in the morning, and she was there. So I thank God for that. So, Mom, with that being said, did you experience growing up? Well, I guess did you experience growing up in the South?
No, I grew up in Chicago, and I grew up like in the 70s, and I went to school in the 70s. And I had both my parents there, and we was always in a one apartment with 6 of us. And my father had a full-time job as a car washer. And there was not a lot of money, but it was enough to keep food on our table. And we had clothes, and we went to school. And I had said, once I started school, anything that was offered to me as a learning, I was going to try to do it because I wanted to learn much as I can. I want a job that, make it as a career, and I want to work hard. I want a job that, I can always lean on and try to get more education, because learning, you can be old and still learn every day of your life. That's learning is fundamental, and you can make fun, have fun out of learning, because you can always build different things, and, as you grow older and you learning more, you put it, and you learn more. And
what my grandmother forgot to tell y'all was that I guess I get my entrepreneur spirit from her as well. She had a store. They had a store on 13th and
15 Place in Kids.
15 and Kids. They just tore that building down not too long ago. And you guys had what was it, grocery store?
Grocery store.
A grocery store.
They didn't make no money, y'all, because what year was that you had that store?
The same year.
It was like by the
In the 70s.
In the 70s.
Yeah.
Right there, they just tore it down on 15th and Kids, right on the corner of Troy. Y'all know what I'm talking about. They just tore it down. And so they told me that people would come in for loans or credit.
Yes.
And they would write it down on a Newport or whatever box. So I think cigarette box. That's why they went out of business, because they gave too much credit and they took in. So, so Mom, I heard you say that your father, I didn't get to meet him. He had deceased before I was born. But you said that he worked at the car wash, and
yes,
that's how he took care of y'all.
Yes, that was his full-time job as a car wash, and there wasn't a lot of money, but we survived off of it. And I said, as I grow up, I want, a good job, that I can always depend on, have a trade and have a career. And I want to learn more and more and learn more. And then I want to, get me a good job. And as I grew up, when I sent my daughter off to school, Cynthia, that's when she was in, I had her in preschool. She was enrolled in that. And as the day she went to school, I went with her. It seemed like I was a part of the education system. All the parents and teachers, they knew me and they loved me. And then she was enrolled in a program called Better Boys Foundation. And she excelled in that.
I didn't mean to cut you off. And you know what? It ain't nothing but a blessing because I met an individual that works at Better Boys Foundation, and we've partnered. And he's been just phenomenal as far as helping me get my kids to different organizations. So, and I was telling him that. So, it just show you how cycles repeat themselves. As a matter of fact, I talked to him today about event that we got coming up. So, yeah, I forgot about that too.
And as she grew older, she was at a school named Johnson. And there she met a lady by the name of Miss Fitzsimmons. And Cynthia was the first person, who helped this lady with this program. And after 39 years, they are still going on. She's still learning children in the city how to get job, make things, and try to enjoy making
That's my mom.
learn about jobs fun.
Just empower, trying to empower kids, and
Yes.
as I often mention, and I tell people, I'm gonna repeat it until I'm blue in the face. Your upbringing and what you're exposed to affects you right now. Because I hear a lot of people talk about how they were molested as a kid, how they were abused, how they were house to house, how they were in shelters, how their parents sold them for money, how just they watched their parents growing up doing drugs, and just a lot of detrimental stuff. And when I hear these things, I'm like, wow. And I can honestly say, when I look over my life, as far as I could possibly, I guess, go, I don't remember being in any situation like that. There were two men. I'm 30. I'm sorry. I'm forever 21. I can tell y'all my age. My son thinks I'm forever 21. He on the other side of the wall. But forever 21. And growing up, I've only known two men that my mom had encountered, and that was my father, and that was this other guy who were instrumental in our life. I think they were together for many, many years.
Yes.
And so my mom, I can't remember my mom ever allowing us to stay the night over at people's house. I guess she just shielded me from that.
Yes, I did.
Nobody's perfect, and I'm not trying to sit here and say we this perfect family, not by a long shot. However, what I'm saying is that I remember the good. So the bad is minimum compared to what I remember, and that's what I try to instill in other people that I encounter. Even with kids, I think words of affirmations are just are memorable. You have to be mindful of what you say to your kids. Case in point, you can't tell your kids, you a stupid MF, you this, you that, you that, because guess what? I believe you plant a seed, it'll grow. So you have to be mindful of what you say to your kid. I'm no perfect parent. I'm no perfect parent, and I have no perfect son. However, I try to do my best. I try to do the best that I can with the knowledge that I have and the support system that I have to make sure my son is on the right path. And I have to be mindful of even my encounters, just like my mom. I can't be in 20 different relationships or having all these different men coming to my house, because I'm not teaching I'm not teaching my son anything.
They gonna do what you see.
Exactly. And I tell people all the time, I say, kids don't do what you tell them, they do what they see.
You are their first teacher.
Exactly. So, I'd say to any parent that's listening, it's important that you guys be active in your kid's life, whether it's taking them to whatever it may be. You can't allow these video games or these cell phones to
Take over.
to take over your child, because at some point the kids need the interaction. And then with all these video games that's out there, they're promoting violence. And so again, if your kid is glued to the TV screen or to the cell phone or to these video games, they go out there and do what they see. And as we see, the city is on a rampage with youth violence. It's scary. It's almost like you can't even walk outside your home without being
Afraid.
exactly afraid or robbed or whatever the case may be. So I just continue to ask God to cover me and my family, and keep us from any hurt, harm, or danger that the devil try to impose upon us. And I just I just thank God that these two are what they are in my life, and that they are the model grandparent and mother that I could, possibly ask for. Like I said, and even growing up, my mom didn't give us materialistic things because we just wasn't it. However, I remember some people would tell us that we would get the Jordans before some of the drug dealer boys. My mom worked 2 jobs, made sure we had everything we needed, and most of our wants, meaning the extracurriculum stuff. And so, it's now instilled in me, and I do the same thing for my son. I'm not raising him to be a materialistic individual. I reward good behavior. And even with that being said, I remember I was telling my cousin, Nita, that I bought my son a pair of Jordans because I thought that, he wanted them. And everybody was saying, oh, these rare, they're not coming out again. So I got the shoes, and I noticed my son wasn't wearing them. And so I would always fuss him, like, why you ain't putting them, I was paying all that money for them shoes. And he was like, Mom, I really didn't want those shoes. You wanted them. And that was an epiphany because I'm like, you know what? We as parents, we dress our kids up. And a lot of times I notice that people dress themselves up to feel validated, to feel important, to feel relevant. And I teach my son, you are relevant without all that materialistic stuff.
Right.
You don't need stuff to validate who you are.
That's right.
Be a leader, not a follower.
Not a follower.
And so, I pretty much do the same thing. And that's why I'm so humble, guys, because, a lot of things that people encounter and then been through in life, I haven't experienced that. I count my blessings, and I know that don't nobody have to do anything for you. Don't nobody have to give you anything. So I'm grateful when someone think of little bitty me. And so, I'm just elated. And I think both of you guys were CNAs, right?
Yes.
And see, my work ethics, I think my grandmother worked until, how long did you work?
30-some years.
30-some years on the job, and she retired. And I remember her retirement, because guess who went up there with her to pick up her retirement money? I did. And I think she blessed us all with something. She gave us all some money when she retired. I remember that, because we was in the store, and she gave us all some money. Grandmother, I forgot to ask you, how many kids did you birth?
Me?
Yes.
4.
4 kids. What, 2 boys and 2 girls, correct?
Three.
Oh, I'm sorry.
3 girls and 1 boy.
3 girls and 1 boy. Right. I think 2 passed away, correct? 2? Yeah, 2 passed away. And so, Mom, how long did you work at your nursing home?
I worked at my nursing home for about 20 years, but as I worked there, I was still getting certificates of my good work. Like I say, I was always learning my patients, and they loved me, and I loved them because, it's always good to help a person. You may be down and out, but you always need somebody to help you. And people look forward to that. They look forward to you coming and helping them. They're not always asking you for nothing. It's just the kindness you bestow with them. And I'm doing the same thing now. I have a grandson, and all the teachers there, they know him also because, I was there so much, they even gave me a class to work with. I helped the children learn their names, and some of they didn't know how to spell their names, and it hurt them. But on the last day when we learned our names, I was glad and they was glad because that's another hurdle in their life. They learned how to do, and it made me feel good because I helped somebody else learn something that they were going to need farther on down the road.
And not cutting you off, I got so many certificates too that when I was working,
Y'all hit them, they so crazy.
And,
They say certificates. It's certificates. They both say certificates. But
And,
go ahead, which is certificates.
one of mine I got, Mayor Daly, the one passed it to me.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
And see where my work ethics come from. Both of them have been on their job 30+ years. Oh, I mentioned a hurdle that my grandmother experienced. My mom was struck by lightning at the same very job that she's talking about.
Yes.
And we all know lightning can kill you. And I thank God that, in the midst of everything again, the Lord saw fit and gave her more years to be on this earth. So, I'm grateful. Granny, I meant to ask you about school. So there, of course, I guess there weren't colleges and real schools back in your days. So how was the school a class setting?
It was just a big long building like this. On this side here, it'd be from the 1st until the 6th grade. Then got those closing doors, and on this side it'd be from the 7th up to the 12th grade. So you in the same building, you finish school.
Okay. So if you could give grandmothers advice about grandkids, what advice would you give, Granny?
Oh, love them, cherish them, whatever they try to do, if you know it's right, stand behind them, and put all your effort that you can to help your kids, because you know what it is, you know how the world is, you know what you had to go through with, and you don't want your grandkids or your kids to come up like you come up. Anything you do, make it better.
Yes, I felt the same way.
Mother, if you could tell your generation of grandmothers, I'm sorry, if you can give them any advice, what would you give them?
Well, this is not for everybody, but it's like right now, a lot of mothers and children, they party together. But
Oh, yes.
I never partied with my child like that. I always believe that, you're a mother and then you're a teacher.
Act like a mother.
And yes, you act like a mother. You learn that child how to do things. Well, I didn't do it this way. You do it this way. And work close with your children. Don't just send them off to be with somebody else, because you never know what somebody else is teaching your child.
That's right.
You teach these things for your child itself. Give them a way to to make better things for themselves. Anything that a school is offering you, take that on yourself. Because one day you're going to need that.
And see, I guess that's why I'm so all over the place. I wouldn't even say all over the place, because everything I try to do for the most part is productive. People often ask me, how do you get all this energy to do something? When you have a passion for something, when you're eager about something, when you thirst for something, you just make it happen. And like I said, my son has been blessed. And as you guys see me posting pictures on Facebook with my mom, my granny, I'm happy to say that I was able to take my son to Disney World. I took my mom on her first plane trip. My granny ain't really ready for the plane. However, I did take her on her first overnight hotel stay. She probably ain't never spent the night overnight. And so we were able to get her out. Where did we go? Went to Wisconsin Dells. Went to Wisconsin Dells.
Now, I'm not used to spend the night out, stay at home, and I don't let my kids go spend the night. They have to be at home with me. And that's just the way it was.
Oh, and I do want to say this program that was started 30-some years ago, a nonprofit, to help the children in the city to learn different things about how to get job resumes and learning more.
Are you talking about North Central?
Yes, North Central College. Okay, it'd been going on for like 37 years, and my daughter was part of that. She was like the first student in that program, and this year she was the spokesperson of that program, and I want to thank her. And I love her, because I look at myself, and I said, she did the same things that I did, helping people. That's just something I enjoyed doing all my life. I've helped people, and I enjoy it. And as long as a person see you trying to help yourself, people come back and help you.
That's so true. Because I'm getting outpouring people just from anywhere. That's so crazy, because the lady was just on before this. I had reached out to her about a program that she's having. And so when I walked in, she was like, you inboxed me. And that just show you that, you just have to be humble. You have to be humble and act accordingly, because you never know who's watching you.
Right.
And so from that, me and her, I gave her a hug and told her I was looking forward to seeing her, because for me, every person I encounter is a networking opportunity. And funny story, like I said, as you see me posting pictures of my mom and my grandmother, I'm taking them places, and if I can't get my grandmother out of the house, all I gotta do, y'all, is tell her that a wrestling match, whether it's in English, Spanish, whatever, she gonna go. And so, I want to thank CAN TV for giving me this opportunity, this platform to be able to, tell my story and tell, what I got going on. I want to thank my son and my little cousin on the other side of the wall for letting me jack them up, and of course, my support system right here, my mother and my grandmother, for just being
We appreciate
active and a positive influence in my life. And like I said, without them, I wouldn't be able to do half the things I do. Sometimes I don't know if I'm going to come, but what's most important to me is to make sure that they okay. Every day I'm off work, I always go by and make sure they okay. Do they need this? Do they need that? I mean, the other day I was so tired I couldn't even see my grandmother's like, you okay?
At our house.
But I had to go make sure that they were cool. So real quick, y'all, we got about 30 seconds. You want to give a shout out to somebody? I forgot. They probably know what a shout out is.
So all my friends and who are watching, thank you for
I would like to
listening.
thank everybody that helped my daughter and gave her that wisdom to go farther and, make something out of friends and people and younger children, helping them go on with their lives.
Well, I'll catch you guys next time at the same time. Be safe out there, y'all.
Thank you.